Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, Dubrow Ashley, and today we are here to discuss The Real Housewives of Orange County, Season 16, Episode 10. And let me just say that this episode was very much giving, and I was here for it.
I love it. I love it.
Honestly, OC has definitely been giving us a very solid season. I have quite a lot to say about this episode, so let's just jump right on into it because we don't have a minute to spare. We start off the episode with a family scene of Heather and Terry and the kids. Heather is emotional because since the twins are on their way to college, she knows that the family dinners going forward will be few and far between. So she's trying to savor the moment. The twins are showing Heather and Terry their cap and gown pictures. Heather's emotional. She's excited for them. And then they start bringing up how Kat, their middle daughter, checked out USC. So now the twins start joking about how they see Coco attending USC because she's the youngest and she's spoiled. And we all know that people have affectionately named USC as the University of Spoiled Children. So they're having a great dinner until we see Max and Kat go at it. I guess Max kept teasing her sister and nothing crazy, but just, like some light teasing like siblings do. And Kat was not in the mood for it. She's like, can you leave me alone and let me just eat my food? So Heather says that Kat is very emotional and sensitive just like her. And I said, girl, add me to that list too. So we see Terry and Max excuse themselves from the table to use the restroom. And now Heather's having a quick talk, making sure that Kat is all right. She goes on to say, look, I know that you and your older sister have been getting into it lately, but things will change. One day you guys will be close, so don't worry about it. I went through the same thing growing up. Me and my sister didn't really get along that well, but now we're super close and there's nothing that we wouldn't do for each other. Then we see Kat and Heather in a confessional together, and Kat says that she's really not close to her siblings because of the big age gap. Now, I was like, Kat, you're only 14, Coco's 10, and the twins are 18. So you're 4 years apart from all of them. And that's not a huge age gap in my opinion. A huge age gap is the twins and Coco, because Coco's only 10 and they're 18. But I'm like 4 years apart from the twins and then Coco, that's not too bad, sis. And just being completely transparent, I always get a little bit emotional when people say that they're not close to their siblings or they were never close or their siblings were mean to them or just really nasty to them for whatever reason. That really breaks my heart because my parents were not playing that. I didn't grow up with all that sibling rivalry. We weren't pit against each other. Me and my brother and sister are extremely close. So I'm just really hoping and praying that Kat and her siblings do get very close sometime soon. And you could tell that Heather was upset hearing that Kat feels like that. So now Nikki says to Kat, I really think that Max feels a type of way because she came out first, got a lot of support, and then when you came out, you also got a lot of attention and support, and maybe she feels a type of way about that. We also see another confessional scene with Heather and Kat goes on to say that when her sister came out, she received a lot of support from everybody, but when she came out, she was met with a lot of homophobia from her peers. And hearing Kat say that got me sad again because it's like nobody should be judged about their sexuality. And on top of that, I could see where the tension lies between her and her sister if she feels like when her sister came out, everything was just easy, it was a bed of roses, and then when she decides to come out, it's the complete opposite. So maybe Nikki is right that Max feels some sort of way, and she might also feel resentful that her coming out journey wasn't the same. So we move on to the next scene with Emily and Noella getting their nails done. And baby, you already know I'm about to sink my teeth into this scene because Noella pissed me all the way off. Noella says that she's nervous about all the ladies meeting up in a few days. We find out that Shannon has invited everybody to her home for lunch. Now we remember the last time they were all together was at Cabo. The dinner went left. Heather was annoyed. Gina was annoyed. Damn near everybody was annoyed with Noella. So of course Noella is a bit hesitant because she knows that everybody's not going to welcome her with open arms. Now here's how delusional Noella is, because in her confessional, she has the gall to say that when she's attacked in this group, her voice raises and her hands just, go up. I'm like, you are aware that for all these arguments, you started it. You started this one-sided beef with Heather. Noella changes the topic and she brings up, you guessed it, her divorce. She's like, by the way, we have mediation on Saturday. So Emily's asking like, oh, okay, do you think that he's really gonna come to mediation since he's hiding out in Puerto Rico? Like, girl, let's be real. Emily says in her confessional that Noella can be very suffocating because she's always talking about her. But Emily, Nicole did try to warn you about your friend, but you said that she was being shady and petty and you brushed her off. So now you're seeing firsthand the type of person that Noella truly is, and she's very self-absorbed. So now Emily says, you do know that you started the whole fight in Cabo with Heather. You made a snarky comment, and then she reacted. So Noella's upset that Emily's saying something that she doesn't want to hear, because God forbid you tell her the truth and you get real with her, she's upset. So she's like, can I get some grace, please? I'm going through a hard time right now, and I deserve some grace. So Emily says, I understand that, but that does not give you the right to be rude to people or make it about yourself 24/7. Like, you need to ask other people how they're doing. It can't always be about you. Let me just say, Emily, I don't see it for you any other time, but you were absolutely correct. Noella cannot make things about herself every single time. I have said this now in about 4 or 5 recaps. The conversation is always turned back to Noella. They could be talking about something like the sky being blue, and Noella is going to find a way to bring it back to herself. I was getting so irritated with Noella in this scene because the fact that you want to act like you're the only one in the world who has ever gone through a hard time is ridiculous. I think that Noella is addicted to sympathy and attention. I'm going to say this, and it isn't to be cruel or being mean or being a hard ass. I'm just telling the truth. There are times in life where you might have to encourage yourself. You cannot depend on anybody to have your spirits lifted 24/7. Your friends can't do it. A spouse, a boyfriend, a girlfriend can't do it. Your mom and dad can't do it. Nobody can do it. Everybody has issues of their own that they have to deal with. And nobody has the emotional bandwidth or capacity to deal with somebody dumping their problems on them 24/7. I'm saying this as somebody who's still grieving, okay? That's why you have a therapist and a grief counselor on speed dial, because you pay them to listen to you. And I'm one of those people where I really don't like talking about my problems, honestly. I'm somebody where you honestly would never know. Like, none of you guys knew that my dad was sick last year until I told you guys when he had passed away. You get what I'm saying? You guys don't come on here to listen to me talk about my issues or whatever have you. I slap a smile on my face, I do my recaps, we have a good time in the comments, and, I keep it moving. Yes, I am empathetic to anybody having a hard time, but you cannot make that the focal point and the main conversation every time you get around people. You just can't. But let me not go off on a tangent. I guess it's too late for that. But anyways, let's just move right on to the next scene. So now we see it's the day of Shannon's lunch, and she's getting herself ready. She has the chef there. She has a butler there. And I was screaming because Shannon realized that she forgot to order the appetizers for the meal. So she goes on to say that she feels like a moron for forgetting. But at the end of the day, she's not usually a luncheon girl. She usually does dinners. I said, Miss Shannon, you better hit up DoorDash or Uber Eats and get that restaurant to deliver those appetizers immediately. Because y'all know how I feel about events, luncheons, dinners without proper spreads. So while Shannon is scrambling to get herself and her house ready before the ladies arrive, we see a short parallel scene with Heather getting ready. She's telling her assistant that she bought Shannon a gift from Baccarat, and she says, and we know everybody who works there, so if Shannon returns this gift, then we'll know. I said, I know that's right, you better keep tabs. But personally, I don't think that Shannon is tacky like that, where she'd return the gift. So we flip back to Shannon getting ready, and she has this really pretty Louis Vuitton blouse on. Now, the blouse was a little wrinkled, and I could not stop laughing because Shannon decides that she wants to iron the shirt while it's on her. I said, Shannon is such a mess. She's just so funny because she's just so, like, spastic. So while Shannon is trying to iron her Louis Vuitton blouse, Gina comes over, and Shannon doesn't even hear Gina arrive. So Gina's like, girl, what are you trying to do? So they start laughing, and then Noella arrives, and Shannon's all flustered, like, oh my gosh, please forgive me, guys, but my rug didn't come in on time. And I was like, Shannon, why are you worrying about the rug not being there? You have a gorgeous home, nobody cares, it's just fine. You're going to be okay, I promise. So now we see Heather and Dr. Jen on their way to Shannon's house, and Dr. Jen is visibly dejected. She drops the news that Ryan packed his bags and did not come home the night before. So Dr. Jen is telling the story of how he came back to the house at 11 a.m. and then he went back out for a walk up the hill. Then he came back and screamed at her and then left the house again. Then Dr. Jen says that she wants to get a divorce, and Heather's trying to comfort her, like, no, don't say that. That's not what you want. Like, all marriages have rough patches. All marriages have good days and bad days, and sometimes good years and bad years. And I was like, Heather, I understand that that's some sound advice, but I reject that.
No.
Life is too short, and I want my life to be as amazing as possible, and I'm just not going to have bad years, plural, with anybody. I think that Ryan might feel emasculated. I think that he might feel like he's not respected. And I think the fact that the roles are reversed is what's putting a strain on their marriage. And we've seen plenty of famous examples where when the woman is on top and the man is taking a back seat, things do not seem to work out. Mary J. Blige, Sherry Shepherd, Wendy Williams, and so on and so forth. But I just think that that might be the cause for all this tension between them. And me personally, the minute that you walk out the door and you pack your bags to leave, I'm changing the locks and hitting you with divorce papers when you come back. I'm not playing that. So they finally arrive to Shannon's house, and Dr. Jen is trying to collect herself before they go out and greet everybody. And then Dr. Jen says that she doesn't want to talk about it. So we see that everybody else is at Shannon's house, and now Heather and Dr. Jen come in, and the party's all here. Shannon loves her gift. It's this gorgeous crystal bowl from Baccarat, and she had edibles in the bowl. So Shannon is super excited. Heather says that Shannon and edibles are a winning combination. So everybody can see that Dr. Jen looks really sad, and they're asking her how she's doing, and she's like, oh, I'm fine. I just had a very difficult day. So Heather, being the fabulous friend that she is, she interjects to cover for Jen. She's like, oh, you know how it is. She just had her kids start school, so just getting them all in that routine, it's kind of tough, but she's fine, she's good. So I'm thinking, because Heather is covering for Jen, obviously Jen is not going to bring this up, especially since she said in the car that she didn't want to talk about this at the lunch. So all of a sudden, Dr. Jen decides that she wants to reveal that her husband packed his bags and left. Everybody's super shocked and trying to console her. Heather's like, what? Like, I was doing all that trying to cover for you. I didn't think that she wanted to talk about it. So now Shannon brings up how when she was still trying to make it work with her ex-husband David, they went to this relationship boot camp with a woman named Tina. So now Dr. Jen says, oh my gosh, we've done that too. I understand trying, but sometimes it's evident that the other person does not want to be with you anymore, and you might just have to call it quits. So now they go inside to eat, and as they're walking in the dining room, we do see Noella comfort Dr. Jen, and she says, Jen, I'm really sorry about what you're going through. He seemed like a nice man. Now, to Noella's credit, I said, girl, I'm glad you could do that, because as self-centered as you are, you can't seem to give somebody their moment. But that was nice of you to offer a few words of encouragement. So they're all sitting down at the table, ready to eat. The first course is being brought out. It's a cucumber salad. And then Heather wants to propose a toast to Shannon. So they finish with the toast, and now Shannon's like, again, Dr. Jen, I am so sorry about what you're going through, and I understand because me and David went through the same stuff before we got divorced. So now Gina chimes in, and she's like, two people have to want it to work. It can't just be you. So now Emily's asking Jen questions about how she has to be willing to do whatever it takes. And I'm like, once again, where's all this smoke for Ryan? He's the one who seems to be checked out of the marriage, not Jen. Jen wants to love this man, and she wants him to love her right back. So, of course, Noella has to interject, and she says, was there a prenup? Because I'm going through it as we speak, and it's been exactly 6 weeks to the day that he filed. So everybody's looking at Noella like, girl, you really cannot help yourself, can you? Emily says, Noella, you're jumping the gun, like nobody said anything about prenups or divorce. So now Noella says, I'm just asking a question because this happened to me. Emily's getting really irritated, and she says, we know, Noella, you talk about it every other day, like it's enough already. It's like Noella doesn't feel right unless the conversation is about her. Nobody was talking about divorce or prenups or any of that. Let's just focus on the topic at hand, that Dr. Jen is crushed about what her husband has done, and let's leave it there. But talking about, is there a prenup and dividing assets and trusts and all this stuff, it's like, girl, you're going from 0 to 100. Always doing the most for no reason, and I was very happy when Emily checked her. And you know it's a sad day when I'm on Emily's side, because I can't stand Emily. So now Dr. Jen says that her husband is sort of like a false advertisement because he seems so level-headed and sweet and nice, but behind closed doors, he's not. So now Noella interjects yet again, and she brings the conversation back to herself. So now everybody is even more annoyed. Gina interjects and says, Noella, it's two different situations, what you're going through and what Dr. Jen is going through. So now Heather's annoyed by Noella, and she gets up and leaves the table, and Dr. Jen follows behind her. So Emily and Noella are going at it at the table, and then we see Heather and Dr. Jen talking in the kitchen, and Dr. Jen says that she doesn't want a divorce, she wants to make it work. Emily's so irritated by Noella that she gets up, leaves the table, and she joins Heather and Dr. Jen. She's telling them how annoyed she is by Noella's antics and how Noella's always bringing the conversation back to her, and it's exhausting. So now Shannon joins in on their conversation, and Emily's still going about Noella and how irritating she is, and she says that it seems like Noella can only connect with other women when they're going through a hard time too. And I agree too. Noella is the definition of misery loves company. There are a lot of people in this world who like to be friends with people who are having a hard time in life. They are not trying to be around people who are thriving and happy and successful. Like, they only want to be with people who are in misery because they're so miserable, they can't bear to see anybody else's happiness. And that is Noella to the T. And that's another reason why I think that she's so nasty to Heather, because Heather, for the most part, has a nice life. She seems content, very happy, and I think Noella can't stand to see it. So now Heather says, okay, ladies, let's not be rude. Let's go back in to the dining room and let's have some dessert. So before they go in, Heather gives Shannon an edible. And when I tell you, I got my entire life. Shannon is so much fun on edibles. She needs to take one every day. And it was also really funny because Emily took a bite of the edible too, and she was all calmed down and relaxed. I was like, we love to see it. And I love how Heather indulges too. Shannon's doing squats, and then she's all hugged up on Heather and Emily. I love seeing Heather and Shannon getting along. They are actually a really fun duo when they're like this, because they make better friends than they do enemies. So now the scene ends with all the ladies toasting to Shannon and thanking her for such a fabulous lunch. And now we move on over to the next scene with Gina and Emily having a cute little play date with their kids. And I thought it was so cute because they both have 3 kids. I think 2 boys and a girl. So anyhow, they're letting the kids just run around and have a good time, and they start talking about the lunch. So Emily goes on to say how she cannot stand the fact that Noella doesn't even ask her how she's doing. It's just always about her. Gina agrees, and she adds on to the fact that Noella had no idea that she has a skincare line. Now, I'm going to be real petty like I usually am when it comes to Miss Gina, but I said, Gina, a skincare line, and who? Does Gina even have the fan base like that? Everybody thinks the same thing about her, so I'm like, does she really think that it's going to sell? And again, that's no shade, but when she said a skincare line, I'm like, what? I said, okay, girl. Delusional. So now Gina and her delusions have the nerve to suggest that Shannon is jealous of her and Heather's budding friendship. She's like, did you see how Shannon was looking when Heather was complimenting me on my skincare line? And I was like, why are you staring at Shannon's face so hard to see what she was looking like? Like, why do you care so much? Gina, I can assure you, nobody, and I mean nobody, is jealous of you. I can bet money on the line, not a soul is jealous of you. Let's be very clear about that.
If you know you're not fab, stop coming out like, bitch, like you that girl. You not fab like that to be doing all of that.
Then Gina takes it a step further to say it's very Shannon because Shannon is full of jealousy and BS. I'm like, you were just smiling in this lady's face at her lunch, all in her house. But now you want to say that she's jealous of you. Gina, you're not that girl. You never will be that girl. You never were that girl. Okay, so the joke's really on you to even say something so stupid. Also, I think that you're jealous and threatened at Shannon and Heather being friends again. Because you know that if they become really close, then you won't be as close to Heather. And you feel territorial and jealous about that. Because we all know that Heather is a great friend for you. You get the benefits from being her friend, but what does she get? I'll wait. Now we move on to a very touching scene with Heather and her daughter Kat. They're outside doing some gardening, and they start discussing Kat and the fact that she's come out as lesbian. And Kat is saying that she wants to take her flag down because she got some really nasty comments on TikTok. So Heather's like, wait, what? Like, first of all, you can comment on TikTok? And I was like, Heather, you didn't know that? So Kat goes on to say that sometimes the negativity gets to her and sometimes she feels embarrassed. So Heather says, why do you feel like that? All your friends know that you're gay, like it's fine. Then Heather continues by saying, at the end of the day, I want you to feel comfortable and confident in your skin and do what you want to do and F the haters. Like, tell them to go F themselves. So Kat is listening to her mom give her advice and she's taking it all in. And I got teary-eyed when Heather said, I'm just so proud of you. I love you. And just thank you for being you. And thank you for teaching me a lot of stuff. And then when Kat said, well, thank you for being a great parent and listening to us. And it was just so cute, just so sweet. You can just see that all of her kids feel comfortable talking to her about anything. And I love that she has such a great and beautiful environment for all of her kids to just flourish and thrive. And when Heather started crying in her confessional and she said, I just can't imagine how kids have parents who don't love them. And she said, come to my house. And I was like, Heather, please don't have me crying my eyelashes off. Like, that was just very touching. You can see that Heather really loves her kids. She has a lot of love for everybody. She just seems like a very nice person. I know that other people feel that she's pretentious or a snob or whatever have you. But I'm going to keep saying it. I don't get those vibes from Heather. Yes, she does flex, but hey, don't we all? When we get something new, like everybody flexes to some extent. Again, I really like the scene. A very touching moment between her and her daughter. And Kat seems like such a sweetheart. And just remember, Kat, there are always going to be some haters and trolls, okay? Give them a show, live your life, and hang your flag up with pride. So now we get to the final scene of the episode, and we see Shannon, Emily, and Dr. Jen out to dinner having a girls' night. Now, Dr. Jen had on a very sexy black dress. Mama said she's going to look for a new man, a man who's actually bringing in some coin. And not that broke fool leeching off of her who wants to leave the house. Jen had on that, I need a man who has a black American Express in his wallet and can take care of me and my 3 babies because this idiot took me to the cleaners. So Emily's asking Dr. Jen if she's seen Ryan, have they worked anything out? And Dr. Jen says, well, after Shannon's luncheon, we actually took a nap and fell asleep on the couch together and we held hands. I was like, what? Holding hands? Holding hands with a man who left this house and packed his bags and said he was out? Absolutely not. So the conversation changes gears, and Shannon wants to know if they've talked to anybody after her lunch. So Emily says, actually I did. I met up with Gina earlier today because we had a play date with her kids. So now Emily goes on to ask if Shannon is jealous of Gina and Heather being friends, and if she feels a type of way because Heather and Gina are going to New York together. So Shannon's like, wait, what? Like, are you kidding me right now? Like, I do not think about Gina at all. Like, I'm just fine. I'm not jealous of anybody or anything. Besides, me and Heather have a great friendship right now. Our friendship is back on track. We're good. So why would I be jealous of Gina and Heather? So now Emily says, well, the reason why I asked was because Gina told me that she thinks that you're jealous of her skincare line. So Shannon's like, what are you talking about? I've had a skincare line for a while now. I'm not jealous of anybody. There's room for everybody to make it. I wish her the best. Like, I'm not jealous of her. I'm very happy for her. She's really pissed off. And then she says, I just don't understand what Emily's problem is because every time I see her, she's always stirring the pot. The scene ends with Shannon being pissed and saying that she's reeling right now. And I understood Shannon's frustration 110% because I would be really pissed to feel like I'm being blindsided. We're all having a great night out, and now you want to ask me some out-of-pocket stuff like, am I jealous of somebody that I'm friends with? Like, are you kidding me right now? I am finding Emily to be more and more irritating as the episodes go on. First of all, why are you even telling Shannon what you and your good friend talked about in private? Why bring that up in the first place? Emily gives very much loser behavior. I don't like her. I don't think that she's entertaining at all. She's not glamorous. Her outfits never give. Like, I just don't like her. And again, Shannon and Heather are more evenly yoked in a friendship than Heather and Gina. Gina is just so desperate to be in Heather's good graces because she wants to get everything she can from Heather. Shannon should have been really petty, and she should have said, how am I jealous of somebody who can't dress and is broke?
With your broke ass.
What am I jealous of? Please help me to understand because it's not making sense. Also, why would Shannon be jealous of them going to New York? Shannon has more than enough money to fly herself anywhere she wants to go to. Gina, on the other hand, cannot. Shannon should have flipped it on her and said, Emily, are you jealous? Are you upset that your best friend is now BFS with Heather? Why are you asking me this? Such a stupid question. But y'all, that was my recap. I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you all for watching. And as always, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all later. Bye.